Hey there, today we are talking all about smart money decisions and how you can get over the fear of money in your business. Hey, I'm Nafissa Shireen, and if you're here with me live, thank you so much. And if you're watching on the replay, then you'll learn a little bit more about us as we go through this video. I thought I would come to you live today to do something a little bit different than what I normally do with Living Forward TV. Now, before I go on, I do want to invite you to consider subscribing to my channel and remember to click the bell notification so that you get notified when we have new content or when I do go live, because when I go live, I love to bring you tutorials and take you on screen and bring some awesome guests who are going to teach you some really cool things in the next little while. And today, I'm coming to you live to talk about a really important topic, and that is money fear in business. I've been doing a lot of trainings to my private community in the last little while, all about how to take that next leap in your business, how to make a six-figure leap, or how I turned my own annual income into a monthly income, or how my clients are doing that, or how they've crossed the $1 million mark. And a lot of the questions that I have, because I'll always make myself available to talk to somebody if they have questions and they want to move forward in their business. And one of the biggest questions that was coming up repeatedly in one form or another was simply the question of, I don't know how to make the investments I need to make to grow my business. I know I need to invest money. I know I need to make things at a different level, but I'm really scared. Like, what if it doesn't work out? Or that's more money than I'm actually making. How am I supposed to do that? And so it's not that I don't understand where those questions are coming from, but I don't really buy into them because I've had all of those same objections that somebody else could have. Now, if you've ever had those questions come up, let me know in the chat. Let me know what comes up for you. And I don't say that with any judgment at all about being afraid of not buying into those questions. The reason I don't buy into them is because I know that it can be overcome. I know how to make the right decisions. And I also know how to say no when it's appropriate too, because there can sometimes be this feeling like, well, if you don't buy this, you're missing out. Some things are not actually meant for your business and other things are. So what I wanted to dive into today is how to make those smart money decisions and take all that fear and emotion out of it. And I guess it's hard to actually take the fear out of it 100% because it can be really scary, especially if you're investing a huge chunk of your current income or investing more than you're actually making, or you have to borrow the money. It can be really, really scary. And so today I wanted to go through a couple of worksheets that I work through with my private clients and the decision matrix that I use to help me make those decisions as well in my own business, because I'm not immune to that fear either. I just don't listen to it. And that is what has allowed me to build this business to multi-six figures, to purchase a property, my dream property. It's a $2.5 million property that I live in with my horses. It's the same mindset and decisions and actions that my clients have made to build $1 million businesses or to turn their annual income into monthly incomes, because it's never straightforward when we have to make those big decisions. Now, business itself is really straightforward. It's usually very simple what we have to do, but the fear that can go behind it usually comes from a fear of, it's really a fear of failing. And so when we're looking at making these decisions in our business, as much as we can take the emotion out of it, as much as you can take the emotion out of it and really focus on where it is you want to go, then you will make the right decision. And I'm not here to tell you to get yourself into financial jeopardy. I'm not here to tell you to go spend everything, because that doesn't actually build a business either. But strategic investments in your business, leaps of faith, and making those quantum leaps do require you to stretch yourself. I've heard a lot of times people will use the expression, "Well, I need a quantum leap. I just need a quantum leap," right? And you don't get a quantum leap. Like, the word leap is an action word, it's a verb. So you have to leap. And so to receive the benefits of a quantum leap, you've actually got to take that leap first. And it sometimes can involve money. So today, I'm going to talk about this on our live. And like I said, leave me some comments in the chat. Let me know things I would love to know. So first of all, who you are, what your business is, and what type of decisions you might be facing right now. And if you feel that it's too personal to put on a YouTube chat, that's okay. I'm going to put a chat message here, so you have our main support email address, and you can go to coaching, at nafissashireen.com. Ooh, boy, oh boy. I can't spell my own name. Let me move this thing out of the way. And send an email there, and one of my team members will be happy to get back to you. But overall, you can just maybe let me know here in the chat what comes up. If I can't catch it, because I'm not really good at multitasking, I will come back after the broadcast and answer your questions. And if you have any fears, or if there's something really big that you need to know that you're facing in your business, maybe it's a marketing campaign, maybe it is some new software, some new technology, maybe it's a new hire, maybe it's the mentor that you need to get you to that next level, maybe it's a trip or an event, like a high ticket event that's going to have a lot of influencers in your industry there, where you can, or maybe you need to sponsor an event in your industry so that you're in a room full of your ideal clients. All of those can be really big decisions. And there's no right or wrong answer blanketly to say, yeah, this is the right one or this isn't the right one. Of course, I mean, I'm probably going to be a little more partial to mentoring. I believe everybody needs a mentor. I will always have my own mentor as I progress throughout my business. But who that right mentor is for you and what the right one is, there's no blanket answer there. You have to know that yourself. And so today we're going to talk about some of those fears. So the first thing I want to really address is, and this is more of an energetic piece, but it's to really address the thought process and the stories you tell yourself about money. And if you're looking at money as a scarce resource, if you were looking at money as a cause, not a result, it can really trip you up. It can freeze you in your tracks. And when you think about that, I'm trying to say this, I'm live, so my brain's not quite working. When you're thinking about the decisions you need to make in your life, and this goes beyond your business. One of my things, like primary motivators that drives me, is to help people. And I do it through helping entrepreneurs, but whether you work in a corporation, I mean, it's the same thing in principle, is to stop letting money be the deciding factor in your life. And I'm able to do this through working with entrepreneurs, but we all have an unlimited supply available to us of resources and what we want in our life. And money itself is just energy. Money is how we get from point A to point B. Money is what we've created as a society as a way to facilitate exchange. But what are we exchanging? We are exchanging goods and services. We are looking to make ourselves more comfortable. We are looking to do our work further on in the world. And all of that takes money. And I think there's a lot of fear that comes up with it when people don't think that money is an abundant supply, where they feel that it's limited for them. And so when we feel that it's limited, then we let money make the decision. Now, I'm a student of universal law, and the founding law, the foundational law, is the law of more life. So making yourself more comfortable, having nicer things, having wonderful experiences, drinking the fine wine, having that house of your dreams, that's all part of life. We just happen to facilitate it through money. And if we don't go for what we really want, that's because we're letting money decide. We're saying, what can this money, this limited pot that we have, create for us? Now, today is not a live about how to create more money, although we are going to put a link below, either after this broadcast, or maybe Rebecca will do it during the broadcast, on a resource that will help you get more sales calls and help you transition more people into sales conversations, because sales is the only thing that does move money. Today, though, we're going to look at it being on the other side, where you might be the client, and how do you make the right decision? Okay, so let's start off with, what are the feelings that come up for you when you have to make an investment in your business? Tell me below, leave me a comment. Is it nausea? Is it guilt? Is it fear? Is it shame? Is it discomfort? When you have to take that next step and go into the unknown, what comes up for you? I've heard a lot of times people will talk about money decisions, or they don't like making money decisions in their business. But here's the thing, there's really no such thing as a money decision. If you're looking at it as a money decision, then you're allowing money to decide how you get to live, instead of you deciding how you're going to live and allowing money to support that. That's a whole different way of looking at things. What you're facing in your business is a business and life decision about where you want to go, where you want to grow to, and it just happens to involve money to facilitate that level of exchange. I'm just looking over here at my notes if you see me looking off the screen, because I don't want to ramble. I want to give you guys some content that is coherent. So I will be looking at my notes a little bit here. The one thing to remember too is your business cannot ever outgrow you or your level of personal growth. And so if you hold yourself back, you will hold back your business, you will hold back your growth, and you will hold back your income growth. And at the same time, not every decision, as I said earlier, is the right decision. So how do you know how to do that? All right, so what I'm going to help you with today is I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to take you through some exercises that help tap into the energetic side of making the decision, the intuitive side, and the lawful side of making decisions. And then we're also going to look at a very practical decision document that can help you make the right decision. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly check the chat and see who's here, if anybody is here. And we're going to call this up. So give me a second here. Okay, give me a second. Sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to take you through this exercise. Okay. All right, it looks like the screen is up there. So I want to break down the three components of making a decision in your business, because when it comes to creating money and when it comes to investing money in your business, there's going to be three things that really come up. And the first part of that decision is you need to use your head. You have to use your intellect. You have to make a smart money decision, and you need to be smart with your money. Respecting money is super important. So going through some of these, the exercise I'm going to show you in a little bit, will really help you make a smart decision and also take some of the fear out. It doesn't take all of the fear out, but it will help you see it in a different way. The next part of the decision is trust and faith. It's all about your heart. It's all about having trust in what you're trying to create, trust in yourself, faith in the outcome. A lot of times when entrepreneurs don't invest what they need to invest in their business, it's because they're expecting to fail. I like to say if for every $50 you invested somewhere, you were guaranteed you were going to get a $500 return, you would be looking everywhere you could to invest $50, and you wouldn't care where you got it from, right? If you had to beg, borrow, or dip into your credit card, because you would know for a fact you're going to get this $500 back. Now, we don't have that kind of absolute guarantee in anything. So we have to have that trust and that faith in ourselves and in our business. And more importantly, trust and faith in working with the laws of success, because they're always working and they will always work for you if you're working them properly. So this is where the trust and faith piece comes in. And then the final part of a decision is really your intuition, your soul. What's it telling you about this next move? Not about the money, but about where you want to go through the service or goods that you want to purchase with the money. All right, so we're going to start with the intellect. The first thing you want to do is put fear and doubt aside, because you're looking at this from a logical perspective. I'm going to come on screen here for a second. So this is all about logic. And for those who don't know, I think a lot of people know this. I used to be an accountant. I was a certified professional accountant in Canada. I let that go. And this was years ago, but this is what I did for, I never worked in doing financial statements, but I worked in business development and project modeling. And so I know how important it is to make a logical decision, especially when it comes to big sums of money. Now, we were dealing in millions and millions and millions of dollars because we were building gold mines. So it's not as big of an investment for us as individual entrepreneurs. But I get that it can feel that way, and it can feel even bigger than maybe what a corporation would do, because we're just looking at what little old me can do. So we want to take the emotion out of it, and we want to go from logic. And there's a few questions you want to ask yourself. And before we go to the other parts of the decision, I'm going to flip over to my calculator screen that will show you exactly how you can use this logic. But let's go through these questions, okay? So let's quickly flip back to the screen here. And the link below here that I have down below, I think it's nafissashireen.com/31 download. Is that correct, Rebecca? If it's not, if you could just put that in the chat or let me know so I can correct it on screen. We'll give you these slides, and we have a PDF so you can just grab these and go through them yourself. So we're going to put aside fear and doubt. And these are the questions you want to ask yourself. The first is, what is the result or outcome I want? Take the investment out of it, take what you're looking at purchasing out of it, but ask yourself, what do I really want? What do I want for myself, for my business, for my life? This is about getting clear on your desires. I mean, this is really important when you look at how much money you want to make. And it's also important in looking at what it is it's going to take to create that. And clarity on what you truly want is the founding part of everything, I believe, because without that clarity, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall, or maybe you are just guessing and you're not necessarily working towards a definite outcome. Okay, the next question you want to ask yourself is, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? Like the real problem you're trying to solve. A lot of times we're looking at the result or the effect of the problem, not the cause of the problem, and we really want to look at that. So the problem you're trying to solve isn't necessarily, do I hire this marketing firm or not? The problem you're trying to solve is, you need more leads in your business, or if it's a branding company, you need to up your brand, or if you want to multiply your income, that you need to work with a mentor who can help you do that, to remove your subconscious blocks and help you clear a path to success. Or maybe it's as simple as, or not, it's never simple. If you're needing to have more free time, so you need to hire somebody, or you want to grow and scale, so you need more team. So the team isn't necessarily the problem you're solving. It's the ability to have the time and the time for yourself and the ability to scale. The mentor isn't the problem you're trying to solve. The problem you're trying to solve is to make a quantum leap in your income. Hiring different professional companies to do different services is not about whether you need that company or not. The problem will have to do with what you actually need. So like I said, the leads or the branding, or do you need a Facebook campaign? So those are the business problems that you're trying to solve. So look at those first and ask yourself, what is the actual problem I'm trying to solve here? And then you have to ask yourself, and this is a really tough question, and I find a lot of people have a hard time getting really honest on this one, but what is the real decision that I need to make? The real decision. Again, the decision isn't whether you make this investment in your business, whether you buy the new computer, whether you go to the event or you hire the mentor. This decision is about the outcome that you want. And the real decision is, do I really want this outcome? And that problem that you spoke about, the real decision is, do I really want to solve this? Those are the decisions. And that's the question you have to ask yourself. And if the answer is no, there's no shame in that. You just have to admit it to yourself, because that just releases so much pressure off of you. However, a lot of times the answer is yes. And when we are looking at making a decision in our business, sometimes we just let the whole idea of money, like, do I want to spend this money? Instead of, do I want to solve this problem? Do you see how that's two different things? If we start with, do I want to spend this money? Then the answer a lot of times is going to be no. I mean, like, sure, maybe you want to buy a nice new dress or a fancy pair of shoes, and yes, and it's fun, but it's not, usually the answer is going to be no. And I'm going to give you an example. Just a couple of weeks ago, or this was last week for me. I was flying out east, and there was a snowmageddon. All the flights were canceled, and I couldn't get rebooked on a proper flight to get to where I was going in time. And so I had to spend on the spot another $1,000 to buy a brand new plane ticket. Going through that criteria, what was the result or the outcome I wanted? It wasn't the flight. The result or the outcome I wanted was to get to my destination and to get to my meeting. And the problem I was trying to solve was, well, how do I get there when the airline isn't going to help me. And the real decision I had to make wasn't, do I spend this $1,000 on this plane ticket or not? The real decision was, do I want to get to this meeting bad enough? And I did. And so then the $1,000 was a no-brainer. The decision wasn't, do I want to spend $1,000? Because no, I much rather would have spent that on the spa, right? Instead of a secondary plane ticket and put another one to waste. So you want to make sure that you are really clear on what the actual decision is that you're making, and that will always help you to make these money decisions. Okay, let's go back to the screen here. Okay. Get this back. I think I'm figuring out the technology here. I'm happy with me. All right. Now the next question, and this is really important, and this kind of, I think would underlie the next two things we're going to talk about as well, and that is, if I wasn't afraid of failing, do the numbers make sense? You know how I said if you knew for every $50 you're going to invest, you are guaranteed to get $500, then the numbers make sense. You're not afraid of falling, you're falling, whatever it is, you're going to do it. The reason we don't do it is we have that insecurity in ourselves. But if you were not afraid of failing, if success was guaranteed, do the numbers make sense? Now, knowing that the universe is always working for you, if you're not afraid of failing, do the numbers make sense? Sometimes the numbers don't make sense. You know, you might have a $400 problem, so a $10,000 solution does not make sense to that problem. But a $10,000 problem that's solved with maybe a $750 solution, those numbers make sense, even if it's scary to invest that $750 at the time. So this is a really important one, and I'm going to take you through an exercise to know whether those numbers make sense or not. And then your questions are, what are my choices? What can you choose? So you can choose to not make this investment. You can choose to make this investment for your business, or you can choose something else, because maybe something else will get you where you want to go. Because again, the real decision is not necessarily what you're looking at right in front of you. It's the result or outcome that you want to go. So look at all your choices that are in front of you and ask yourself, what's your decision criteria? And usually for me, that decision criteria is the result or outcome that I want. If I want it so badly, that's always going to drive me. And it took a long time to get to this point where I was not, where, you know, I was more afraid of, like where I wasn't going to let money decide if, sorry, I've lost my thought here. I'm just looking who's in the chat. I see Heather's here and a couple of other people. So I'm just figuring out this technology, guys. So sorry with that, I get a bit caught off guard. So my decision criteria has never been the money. I think maybe when I was younger, it might have been a little bit, but I've always been a little bit more of a person who's gone for what I wanted. So the decision criteria for you is like, what is it? Is it the ability to create what you want? Is it the ability to make it happen? So these are important questions that I think you really need to ask yourself. Okay, so now, before we move on to the next part about your heart and what it's telling you, I'm going to take you through a working document that can help you with all of that stuff that I just talked about. And you can grab it below. Again, I think it's 31 download. Rebecca will correct me if I'm wrong. I'm having a hard time following the chat. So we're going to go to this document here, and this is the document that I've used, I've created, and I'm a person who believes you need to throw the budget out the window, like completely. As a former accountant, and that probably sounds horrible, but I don't believe in budgeting, but I do believe in planning for your cash. The problem with the traditional budget is it lets money make the decision. You know, we say, okay, how much money do I want to spend? These are the categories I want to allocate it to. How much do I want to put here? And then we decide how we're going to live. We decide how we're going to build our business. We decide, if you're in corporate, how you're going to run your department based on some arbitrary number that you don't even know is right. And I think where I had my biggest aha in this was when I worked in mining. We had to do a budget and a work plan. And everything was driven, and this was a lesson I brought forward into my business today, and I want to share it, is everything was driven by how many feet we were going to drill. I worked in exploration and development companies, so we would do a lot of drilling. And so the goal was always, how many feet are we going to drill to create the results we want? What are we trying to do with our feasibility study? How much do we need to drill? And what kind of environmental work do we need to do to meet these goals? And then we figured out what the resources were, and then we worked it backwards. And that is something I have applied to my life ever since, because up until that point, I had the traditional accounting training. You start with your money and then you figure out what you want to spend. This was really going, okay, well, what's the work you want to do? And of course, mining companies that are in an exploration stage, they don't have income coming in. They have to go raise it with shareholders. And so this was a really interesting way of looking at things where we said, what do we want to do? What's it going to cost? Okay, let's go find the money. So that's the principle I've brought to my business and life ever since. And that's how I'm able to make the decisions. And that's what I work with my clients on, to help them make those same kinds of decisions. Okay, so let's have a look at this worksheet. I'll take you over here. This is what I call my unbudget outcome creation worksheet, because I really want to focus on the outcome that we want to create. And so I'm going to go through this with you live on screen here. Hold on, I think I might actually, it's not letting me do that. You know what? I think I actually need to download this. Give me a second here. Hold on. Oh, what is wrong with my computer? Give me a second here. Okay, it's not working for me, so I won't be able to put the numbers in live. Oh well. Now, the whole point of this particular worksheet here, I'll go through the boxes with you and you can at least see what we're working through here. So this first box here is, what do I want to do? And this is where we talk about the outcome, right? That first decision, like, what's the outcome I'm trying to create? Do you want to add new clients? Do you want to launch a new program or build a new course? Do you want to add a full revenue stream? Do you want to sell a business? Do you need to, again, free up time and hire a team? So we want to go firstly on what it is you want to do, because that drives everything. And then the next part, which is just as important, is the why. Like, why is this important to me? Getting clear on why you want to move forward with initiative is really important, because that is what's going to connect you to action. That's what's going to connect you to get past what's really scaring you, like or if it feels like it's scary. This is what's going to help you to just know, right? Because if you don't have a strong, compelling why, it gets pretty hard to do things, especially things that feel scary. The next thing you want to look at then is, thanks, Crystal, I just read your comment, is the potential income I can create from this. So if you're looking at launching a new campaign, what's the potential income you can create for this? If you're looking at hiring a mentor because you want to double or triple your income, then put that down. If you are looking at hiring a team member, look at what that can create, because if you can leverage and suddenly you're spending more time doing what matters, like selling, instead of doing internal work like admin or tech. I mean, we all know I'm terrible at tech, right, Rebecca? And we're all finding this out right now too. Then if you can free yourself up and you can go sell, then how much income do you generate by having this taken off your plate? This is really important to put this down there. You want to consider what that end result was. And then this question here is really important too, the next one. And it's important to write this, not type it, because I believe that writing creates thinking, and it creates a kinesthetic connection to what you're trying to do. So the writing part is really important. I ask, when will I create this money, or when will I see a return on investment? It's important to be realistic about when you expect to see a return. Sometimes it can take a while, and sometimes it can be over an extended period of time. The law of gestation says that everything has a germination period, a gestation period, and it will take the time it takes. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go super slow, but it has to go through all the phases. Now, how fast that goes will be up to you, and maybe some outside factors that you have to work around, but it can take a little bit of time. I think of a client of mine, and I spoke about her on my training last week. When she invested with working with me, the investment in the coaching was more than she was making in an entire year. And it took her 5 months, but she was enrolling 6-figure clients. There was a gestation period. I think about hiring my team, right? When I first started my business, I had no income, and I was paying people. And it took a bit of time to see the return on investment of the marketing, of the branding. It just took time. So you do need to be really realistic that if you invest it today, you may not see it today. And this just helps keep your head straight and helps you not panic. as long as you're still taking action through that gestation period. The law of cause and effect says, as long as you're willing to become the cause of the effects you seek, it will happen. So this will help you stay level-headed if you're upside down for a little while. The next question is to ask yourself, what will happen if I don't move forward? You know, what is the consequences of not following through, of not hiring a team, of not getting the help you need to build your business? So if you are looking at, you know, you're not making the income you need in your business and you're not profitable and you are afraid to invest in a mentor to help you get there, you're never going to get there. If you are looking at hiring a team member, then it's going to be really scary for you to like if you don't hire them and then you're still doing all the admin work, all the back end work, well, that's going to cost you in sales. And so it's really important to get really clear. You know, I used an example here. If I don't replace this computer, I could have a shutdown and lose $300,000 in business. And that could be important if you have a factory or you have something where you're completely relying on your technology. So if it's a $10,000 technology investment that seems scary, the consequences are bigger. And then the next question is, you ask yourself, what actions do I take to make this happen? What actions do I need to take to double my income, to create the new revenue stream, to get more clients, right? Do you need to advertise? Do you need to get training? Do you need to get mentoring? Do you need to travel? All of the things, put it down there. And then you want to go through what resources do you need to take and or that you need, and what action do you need to take, and then get real. What's the price? What's the cost of your mentor? What's the cost of your computer? What's the cost of the travel? And this gives you at the bottom here, like the total amount of money that you need to create for yourself. And then we go to the decision-making criteria. So this page here is, it's a summary page. It's meant for if you, like for every outcome, you would do the first 3 pages we went through, and then you would just add it all up here. So let's say that, you know, you have the outcome that you want to do. Let's just pick one that you want to have a webinar, and you look at what the money needed is going to be for that, and then your expected return. And then you go through this for everything you want to do, and then you look at the totals that you have. And this lets you know how much money that you actually need to create. Now, there's something I do want to speak about. You'll notice here I say if the total money needed is bigger than the expected return or the expected savings, then you don't go forward. So let me give you an example of that. I'll stop sharing the screen for a second here. All right, I'm back. Okay, so let's say, let's just say that you are looking at buying Facebook ads or something, right? And you do the research because you want to sell this product you have that's $197. And you do your research, and I'm not an online marketer, so I'm pulling imaginary numbers out of the air. This is just for examples, but let's just say you decide that you need to do a Facebook campaign. And so you add it up, and the cost, you do some research and you find the average cost per lead in your niche is $10 per lead. And then you find out that the average, you know, your average conversion rate is maybe 3%. So if you do your whole math and you realize that it's going to cost you, let's say $10,000 to get these leads. So you'll get, did I say $10 a lead? So you'll get $10,000. So 1,000 leads. And then 3% of that would convert, which would be 30 people at $200. That's $6,000. And your costs were $10,000. That's a no-go forward. I'm pulling the numbers out of my ear. I think the math worked. So that's a no-go forward. That's not about shrinking. That's not about acting in fear. That's about making a decision with really clear criteria. So that's why it's really important to go through that. And some things are a little less tangible where you do have to take a bit of a leap of faith. And that's where you really focus on that whole outcome that you absolutely want to create in your life. So if you're looking to double or triple your income and there's stages to get there, then there is a bit of a leap of faith. And I get how that can be scary, but you would still focus when you look at that outcome on what it is you want to create, because as long as you're applying the laws of success and you're taking action daily, it will happen. So let's go back to the decision criteria that I have here. And we're going to get back to your heart. So we've gone through the practical aspect, and this is really important. Now, I'm just going to, let me get back to this worksheet here for a second. I'm going to share this and then we'll get back to the other one. When you go through all of your desired outcomes, this number, this total that you need could be a really big number. As long as it's smaller than the expected return, it should really be irrelevant because you won't get that return without the investment. And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs stop. They just look at the money needed. They're not looking at the expected return. And that's when you start to make a decision based on, well, the money is driving it versus what I want is driving it. So the point of this worksheet, like I said, I call it the Unbudget Outcome Creation Worksheet, is to help you get really clear on the outcomes you want and what it's going to take to make those outcomes, and then lay clear the money you're going to need to create those outcomes, which the outcomes will be more than the money you need, but you still have to create it in the short term. I get that. It can feel a bit paradoxical, and that's where the fear comes in. But this is helping you see the money you need to create the outcomes you want versus this is the money I'm willing to spend, and so I'm only going to get like part way there to what I really want. And I just don't think that's any way to live. Okay, let's look at the rest of this presentation on making these decisions here. All right. So let's move on to what your heart is telling you. When you're faced with a decision in your life and your business, you're called to make it for a really important reason. Like we all have a purpose. You don't go discover your purpose. Your purpose unfolds as you go. And nobody here was created by mistake. What you're here to do, you're meant to do. And now that might evolve over time as you really step into it. And decisions will come up. And that's your ego, your subconscious mind testing you to see like if you really want to go there. And so the first question after going through all this exercise that I go through is, what's the minimum I would need to receive in order to make this worthwhile? This is not quite the whole outcome that we're looking for, but it's to really ask yourself, well, because I get it, we want to go with trust and faith, but our subconscious mind is an evil little jerk and it might be telling you, but what if, but what if? So to help you break it down, because I love to chunk things down to the ridiculous, and when we chunk it down to the ridiculous, it suddenly seems so much more doable. So what's the minimum you would need to receive in order to make this worthwhile? So this is just a monkey mind quieter exercise. And my clients that are working with me, they will know that the minute they tell me what the minimum is, I'm like, great, you feel good? Good. Now throw that goal out the window because it ain't good enough. We're going to get you to what you really want. But this will help you lose some of that fear. The next question, and oh my gosh, this is what it all hinges on. Am I willing to do the work to create that income and money I need to get the result I want? Even if what I have to do is uncomfortable or terrifies me. So that might mean picking up the phone, putting yourself out there, doing a webinar and risking nobody showing up. You know, my very first webinar, like nobody was there. Like it can be really scary. Or getting on stage, getting on stage in front of an audience you don't know, or going to an event and sitting yourself at the table with the people that scare you. You know, are you willing to do that work to create the income? And you have to get so real about this question. If you're not willing to do it, it could just be that you're not in the right line of work, or you're not on purpose, and that's okay too. But you have to be real about it. Otherwise, you will just be throwing money out the window. And if you're feeling that you want to, but you're scared to, then get some help with that, because there's probably some subconscious stress there that's holding you back. When you release that and work with that, then it becomes a lot more easy to do it. Somebody once asked me, I was on stage at my own mentor's event back in December, and he asked me, you know, how did the fear go away? And I said, it doesn't. Like I half the time I do everything I do afraid, but what I have the most faith in is myself and my willingness to just do what it takes. So this is a really important question. The next question is to ask, why is the result of this investment important to me? Not what you're about to invest in, because I mean, the computer is not necessarily important, or the mentor isn't necessarily important, or the trip isn't necessarily important, but the result of those investments are. And so you have to ask yourself why that's important to you. What does it mean to you? Is it freedom? Is it more time? Is it more impact? Is it more leverage? Is it growing your business? Do you get to do more things? You know, for me, when I made quite a few really big investments to grow and leverage my own business, why it was so important to me was I wanted the money to buy a ranch, and I wanted the time to be able to enjoy it, because the horses are just everything to me. So that was my big why. Remember, when you're connected to your why, it makes things that much more, like I said, not easier, but you're able to cross those hurdles. And then what will happen if I don't create what I really want? For me, it was out of the question. I would have felt unwhole, I would have felt unfulfilled, and it would have felt like a life half lived and just existing. Sometimes it can be a little more dire than that. It can be, if you don't create what you want, you could lose your business and lose your house. And I mean, then it gets really, really, it's just different for everybody else. But you've got to ask yourself, what's going to happen if I don't create this end result? And get really real about it for yourself. And you can decide if not having that end result is worth not taking the steps you need. And only you can decide if that end result is worth taking that leap of faith in yourself. And here's another one too that's really important. Is there someone whose approval I'm afraid of losing? A lot of times we're afraid what our husband's going to say, or our mother's going to say, or our sister's going to say when we do this. And they want to keep us safe. And a lot of times we're afraid to just even talk to our spouse about what it takes to invest. So we deny ourselves just because we don't want to have a difficult conversation. And usually everything you want in life is on the other side of a difficult conversation. If you're a bit worried about that, like about speaking to your spouse, we have another video. And Rebecca, if you're still here, if you could maybe pop that in the chat and also in the description below, so that our replay viewers can see it, on how to talk to your spouse about investing in your business. It's a really good one. And then ask yourself what you are certain about. This is really important too, because when we're taking a leap and we're taking a risk, there are no guarantees in life. But what I do know is, like I said, the laws are always working. So what are you certain about? Are you certain that when you work with people, they get incredible results? Are you certain that, maybe you don't know who the right person is to hire for your company, but you do know that you're a great leader? Like, what are you so certain about in your business and in your life? Tap into that bit of certainty to help you navigate your uncertainty. Hold on to that. I like to use the example of, riding my horse. When I was learning how to canter, I was freaking terrified that I was going to go flying out of the saddle. And it scared the daylights out of me. It took me years to do it. And I built up a relationship with my horse. And what I ended up being really, really certain about was my relationship in him, that he didn't want to hurt me, and that he would listen when I asked him to stop. I had no idea how to canter, and the speed scared me. So when it was finally time to do it, I relied on those three things. I mean, I held on really tight for dear life, but I held on to those three things because I knew if I counted on that, I could continue, and I did it. And then we cantered, and I was falling all over the place, but I relied on those three, and it helped me through what was scary. And then I became certain of something else, that I could do this without falling. So what are you absolutely certain about? The results you create, the work you do, your leadership, your thought leadership. What is it? Tap into that. All right, let's go back to the screen. And then the final thing is to connect to your intuition and connect to your purpose. I think something that's really overlooked is a lot of times people will say, my head says yes, but my intuition or gut says no. Intuition never says no. Intuition is your higher self. It's your calling. It will never say no to your next step. Only fear will say no to your next step. If you've gone through that entire exercise and the numbers make sense, saying no is not your intuition. That is 100% fear. And so Spirit, God, the universe will always point you in the direction you should be going. It won't say no. It'll say go over here. So just keep that in mind. Intuition doesn't say no. Fear will say no a lot. So the questions you want to ask yourself: is this a step in the direction of my goals? Is taking this next investment, making this leap, getting past this fear, will I be going towards my goals? If the answer is no, then obviously it's a no to invest in it. But if it is, then this is where it comes up. Okay, I'm going towards what I need to do. Is it a step on my path? Does this feel right? And the other question is, will not making this decision keep me where I am? Or is this decision absolutely irrelevant to my purpose? And those are two things. And it's fair. If it's absolutely irrelevant, then it may not be the right thing for you. Or not making it, if it's going to keep you exactly where you are, you got to ask yourself, is that really what you want? And remember, an unmade decision is a decision to stay where you are. And unmade decisions are really exhausting. And what if worrying about what others think were no longer important to me? If I just took 100% complete self-responsibility for myself and figured out how to do this and not worried what others think, who would I be? What would I be free to do? And am I deciding in faith and certainty in what I want? Or am I caving in fear? Does the thought of the outcome that I can achieve through this make me happy? And if I could wave a magic wand and create anything I wanted, what would I choose? And finally, what if this decision is my magic wand? That can be a pretty big question. So that's so those are the questions that I go through, that I used when I made like multi-six-figure decisions to invest in my mentor, to upgrade my team, to work with a PR company, to invest in a YouTube coach. Those were all really scary decisions for me. I'm not immune to the fear of making these really big decisions. And every single decision has ended up being the right one because I've gone through this exercise and I've chosen to make it the right one because I'm willing to do the work to back it up. So when it comes to the decisions you want to make in your business, I talk about smart money decisions, but it's really not about the money. It's about making the decisions that really align with where you want to go and what you want to do. The fear never absolutely goes away, but you can work through it. And when you decide from where you want to be, you're deciding that success is inevitable. When you decide from where you are, you're deciding from the perspective that you think you're going to fail. So that doesn't necessarily put a great message out to the universe either. So I'm hoping that today I gave you a lot of things to think about. Anyways, I will sign off for now. I've been here quite a while with everybody. And for those of you who have stayed the full 40 minutes, I really appreciate it. And we'll be back to our regular programming next week. You'll want to be here. It's a really fun episode that we're doing. I'm teaching you how to answer the dreaded question, what do you charge? And we'll get back to some really fun videos teaching you how to master your sales, because really when you master sales, it kind of takes a lot of this away as well, because then you're able to create money anytime you want it. All right, so we'll sign off. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Talk to you soon.